Zach Twardowski here. I'm here with Mahmoud and Wylie, and we're going to go through and just do objection training for the next 30 minutes or so. And just, I'm going to throw Mahmoud an objection. He's going to say how he overcomes it, explains what he does. He's going to throw Wylie one. Wylie's going to throw me one. And we're just going to go around the circle and then probably mix up who we're going to. But biggest question we get from people is like, how do you overcome, different objections, whether it's recruiting, whether it's selling, whether it's new agents getting them to buy leads. So we're going to cover, a little bit of everything. We move the first one, start off with a simple one, right? Is you get someone on the phone, telesales, they go, hey, I don't remember filling this out. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so you always want to go back to the AAA. Agree, ask, attack. Yeah, I completely understand. I usually don't remember what I ate for breakfast most days, but you did put your birthday December 10, 1955, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So, yeah, I'm just the medical underwriter here that's been assigned to your file, and I'm just the one that goes over your eligibility. Do you have any coverage in place that's going to offset your burial or cremation?
No, I don't.
Okay, perfect. That's why most families send this request in, and it's my job to see which one's going to give you the best benefit with your discount today.
Okay, sounds good. Always just agree, right? All right, what do you got for Wylie?
I need to talk to my daughter.
Yeah, so I like to agree, ask, and attack.
Original.
Yeah, AAA, man, that's smooth. Before I answer that, I think one thing to touch on is if you overcomplicate objections and you talk too long, then I think that's where you lose clients, because at the end of the day, them giving us an objection is just a smoke screen, smoke and mirrors, right? So always just bring them back to the part of the script you're last at. Now, when it comes to I need to talk to my daughter, I think the most important thing is to set that objection up before it comes. So I always like to ask, hey, it looks like it's you and your wife. Are we going to need her here in order to, make this type of decision? If they say yes, I'm like, perfect. Do we need anybody else here? Right. And then if I still get that objection, I go, perfect. Let me ask you a couple questions. If you were to show your daughter this and she told you, yes, let's do it, are you going to go ahead and do it? Or are you concerned about the price? He's like, well, I would do it, but I'm a little concerned about the price. So now I know that the biggest issue is the price. So then I'm just lowering it and then moving him forward from there.
Yeah, you're identifying what the actual objection is instead of answering the dumb objection, which is the daughter. It's like, okay, cool. So is it something else? And looping back to that, right?
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, let's do a recruiting one. So for you, Zach, I think a lot of people are concerned about leads. So when someone says, well, why do I have to buy leads? What's your response?
Yeah, so the reason we buy leads is twofold. And you don't have to buy leads, to be clear, Wylie, right? We're a company that we're independent brokers. You don't have a salary. You're 1099. And our structure and our belief has always been that leads are the easiest way to get going and to run a real business. We have a bunch of lead vendors we have partnerships with. We have people that make leads in-house. Integrity provides us lead store where we have access to aged inventory leads. So we have access to a ton of leads. Now, we don't require anyone does buy leads. That's up to you. The reason that we recommend people can buy leads and it's a good business practice is because, I don't know about you, but I never wanted to be the person that went to the family barbecue and everyone was running away from me because they're like, oh, Zach's trying to beat me up for insurance, right? Like that doesn't sound appealing to me. And what I'd rather do is just understand that if I spend a certain amount on leads, once I understand how good I am at closing, I can expect a certain result from that. So most agents want to invest in leads so that they can predict their income. And so they always have new people to talk to and they're not forced to network with friends and family. So that being said, you can talk to all your friends, family, network with them, or you can buy leads. What would you prefer to do?
After hearing that breakdown, I'd definitely buy some leads.
Cool. And the nice thing is, man, is I have a bunch of old ones I'll help you out with in the beginning, and we'll slowly step your budget up to where you will be, investing maybe 200, then 500, then 1,000 in a week in leads to get to where you want to be as a producer. But in the beginning, I'll help you out, but you need to be investing something in leads if you want to buy leads.
Got it.
Again, the alternate is to go knock doors, call your friends and family, but most people choose not to take that route.
Yeah, that's golden.
Cool.
I like that because that is the thing about FFL that we can do is because, like, there is someone, he's right there in Houston, Jorge, who helped over 300 families. Like, he didn't buy a single lead. He just went out there and knocked. But you got hundreds and thousands of other people that are following the system that's already been invented.
100%. We're gonna go back this way. I got to throw one at Wylie now. Hey, Wylie, is your company a MLM or a pyramid scheme?
Yeah. So the coolest thing about our company is, so most agents are set at 55, 65% commissions, and that's some of the highest contracts that they can get. Now, the nice thing is we can start people at 90% and 100% commissions. So if you get 100% commission, you get the whole lion's share of that policy, right? You're the one purchasing the lead, making the phone call, presenting to the client, right? So with that being said, do you feel like it's a pyramid scheme?
No.
Yeah, absolutely not, right? Because pyramids are built on one, bringing people in a revolving door. You can go out and make 100, 200, 300,000 if you work your tail off, all by just producing, right?
Yeah.
And so that's going to be how I overcome those.
The other thing I always tell people too is like, no, we don't make any money from, sign up fees. We don't make any money from, making you pay for training. We don't have book clubs. We don't have all the crap that a lot of the companies in the industry have that make money from events, from just bringing people on, from recurring membership fees.
Yep.
We only make money when insurance is sold. And you can be a producer and make money, or you can recruit, make money. But, those MLM pyramid schemey deals, like you have to recruit to make money. That's not the case here.
Yeah. All right. So one of the biggest objections I get when recruiting is, how does the company pay 100% commission and still make money?
I got asked that the other day, and I kind of like stumbled for a second. And then I was like, I pulled out the comp grid and whatnot. And I was like, well, you got to think about it. When the insurance company pays us in advance, they're paying us for the first 9 months and then the last 3 months. But realistically, that client's going to be on the books. We still get paid on that policy. We get renewals that are vested to us since day one. And like the client pays that policy, for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it may be. And the insurance company is going to be betting on that. So I think that's why, and I'm 100, you can agree with that. That's why we get paid handsomely over here, is because we're only really taking the first year. But what about the other 30 years, 40 years the client pays?
Yeah. The other thing to always tell people too is like the insurance companies are not profitable on business after they do. So insurance companies pay a lot up front. They pay the advances. They do all the underwriting checks. They send out the policies. They pay the whole hierarchy out. And so they don't make money for and they have business fall off the books, right? They don't make money for the first 5 or 6 years that policy's on the books. They make monies like year 6 through however long the client keeps their policy for, right? And I think it's important to understand, and this is good for clients to know too, 98% of term policies term out, meaning that they don't die within the term. So they make a lot of money from that, which is why it's smart to have a permanent policy unless you just want to have a really big term policy in case you die, unexpectedly.
Makes sense. All right, I got a good one for you, Zach. So I guess, what do you tell people that think this opportunity is too good to be true?
Yeah. So I always tell people that there are downsides to this business. First thing is it's a super low barrier to entry business, meaning that you can get your license in a couple days. You pay a few $100 to get your license. And that's really it, right? And you can generate money from just networking, friends and family, buy a couple leads, and you can make money right away. The downside to that is it is a riskier business because the insurance companies are paying you advance up front, which is essentially an unsecured loan, right? And if you have business fall off the books, you're responsible for that, right? And you have to pay that money back to the insurance carrier. So one thing is that you're independent, so you don't have anyone that's waking you up every single day being your boss. 2 is that there is debt that happens. Now, once you're in the business for 9 months, you have back-end money coming in, renewals coming in. That typically takes care of your debt balances for you, and you kind of even out. But the first 9 months in business is difficult. And then the third thing is it's really hard to be an independent contractor. Because you'll have people pulling against you. Your friends and family will be thinking, oh, Mahmoud's too good for us and he doesn't want to do this. Or every time you have something bad happen, they'll reinforce it negatively to you. So the negative part of the business is that there's debt and there's a little bit of risk in the business. But outside the business, you'll have people that are pulling against you because they don't want to see you, kind of leave their circle. That's typically how I answer it. I don't know Wylie, if you add anything else to that, but I always talk about the fact that got to buy leads and that there is debt in the business. And a lot of people fail because they're not able to be independent contractors, and all the outside influences that come in hurt them.
And I think that's a trait that a lot of successful people have, is you have to be able to take that risk in order to receive that reward.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So Wylie, when you get someone and you're talking to someone and let's say you're doing mortgage protection, right?
Yeah.
They're like, hey, why do I'm say it's an older person, right? They're like, I want to be able to cover the entire mortgage, or I don't want anything at all.
Yeah. So if they're at that point, what I'll do is you got to focus on their information and what's important to them. So let's say I'll ask them a question. I say, hey, how much is your home, or how much do you owe on your house right now?
300,000.
Okay, perfect. And have you appraised your home recently?
Yeah, it's worth like 5.
Okay, so perfect. So it looks like you have $200,000 sitting in equity then, right? Mm-hmm. That's a whole lot of money, isn't it, Zach?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so you wouldn't want to lose that, I'm assuming.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay. Sweet. Well, the good news, man, is I'm going to show you what the full mortgage costs. But what's really cool right now is we have an equity protection program going on. And this is what 95% of my clients are going with. So I'm going to break it down a little bit. But God forbid you passed away tomorrow. Your wife's obviously going to lose your income, and she's going to be stuck with that $1,500 a month we talked about. Now your mortgage is $2,000. So is she going to be able to afford that?
No.
No way, right? Yeah. And so we don't want her to lose $200,000 in equity and it go back to the bank. Because, I mean, who wants the bank to make more money, right?
Right.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, and what most families do, is they put together a program where it's going to pay your mortgage for 9 months. And so it's equivalent to, whatever, $12,000, $24,000, whatever it is. And it's going to cover that mortgage for 9 months. So your wife has an adequate amount of time to do three things. She can either sell the home, find a renter to move in and make it affordable, or she can do a reverse mortgage. That's our last resort. But at least we're not having that $200K go back to the bank.
Got it. Sounds good.
Yeah. And so I think when you set structure and allow them to run with the herd, and it's like, hey, this is what 95% of my clients are doing. I can show you the full mortgage, but it is going to be an arm and a leg, and we're going to watch your firstborn every month. So I don't think that's going to make sense.
Yeah. Letting people know, like, if you want me to write it, I'm a capitalist. You can pay me for it, but it's not good for your family.
And I think when you position yourself like that, like, yeah, of course, I'm going to show you that. But honestly, sir, I just don't think it's going to make any type of sense for you. It feels like you're on their side, which you are. And then if you can put you and the client against the bank, we're going to win every time. No one wants to help the bank.
100%.
Yeah. All right, sweet Mahmoud. So I got a quick one. Now, when you're going through an appointment and someone gets declined for a term and you can't get them a term and you promise them, let's say $50,000 for $100, how are you pivoting to a whole life product where you can still sell them?
Yeah. So I think it's the same thing like what we just did with the equity protection is you want to set up the proper expectations. So whether they're getting declined for a condition they told you about or it's something that they're hiding, you want to be completely upfront and honest with them. You want to tell them like, hey, you've been declined a few times for the term. Whatever, if something came up, some of the carriers tell us what's wrong with them, and you can call them out on that. Like, hey, you're lying to me. That's not cool. But anyway, you figure out what the real problem is. You're going to let them know like, hey, so you've been declined for this product. You're not able to get that. So we're going to do the next best option for you. So we're going to try and get you as much coverage as we possibly can for around the same price range, or you can put a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I break it down to them. I'm like, hey, so the term we tried for it first because, it is cheaper. You're able to get more coverage, but you have to be a lot more healthier. And that's not the case here. So they got declined. So typically you're not going to be able to get that same 50,000 face amount, but you're going to bring it down and, we're going to get you 20, 25,000 of permanent coverage in place and that you qualify for. And you want to solidify the fact that something is going to be better than nothing at the end of the day for their family.
Mahmoud, I have a similar one on that same line. Is if you have someone who you get to the end and they're like, 20,000 at $150 a month fits my budget, but I really want 40,000. I don't think I want to do it unless I can get the 40,000. How do you get that person across the finish line?
Tell them like you get $40,000 accidental. Mm-hmm. If you die natural cause, it's going to be $20,000 worth of benefits. And then I just tell them like, look, we tried for the better option at first. You got declined.
What if they want 40,000 of whole life and they're like, I really just want to do 40,000 and it's too much. I don't know if I want to do 20, but I like the 40,000 number. I just can't afford it.
Oh, that's simple. Well, you just tell them like, hey, we're going to you've already been declined a few times. We want to make sure we can at least get you approved and find something that you're comfortable and that you can afford. And so we'll start with that one. Once you're comfortable with that, a month, 2 months, a couple months down the road, we can always increase it. That's just as simple as a phone call away. But again, something's going to be better than nothing.
Can you talk about too, in that same line, we're just going to Mahmoud the whole time.
Hammer him.
But I think a lot of people are scared to downsell sometimes. So like when people are like, oh, like I kind of like this price, but I don't know if I can afford it. Like, can you talk about why you try to get them to do one they can definitely afford and how that helps with, profitability so you don't have as many cancels?
Yeah, no, I think a majority of my sales are down sales. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the main reason people don't have any coverage or why they don't buy anything is plain and simply due to price. They don't want to be sold. And if most of the time when they're hesitant on that price, it's like, well, I want the $200 one, or I want the 40,000, the full face amount, and they can't afford it. You have to solidify it in their head. Like you have to spin back on the why. It's like, hey, the whole reason you don't have any insurance is due to affordability. You don't have $10,000, $15,000 saved up simply because of affordability. So you gotta let these people understand like something's gonna be better than nothing. We're gonna get you started with this bottom one, and we can increase it later on. And I think it's just being and having that assumptive manner and truly fighting for the family. Like I think you have to care for the family to tell them that it's not what they want. You know, there's a saying. It's like, you know, we want to buy with the hearts, but we can only go with our budgets.
Yeah.
You know.
Got it. Cool. All right. You want to ask me one? Let's go this way.
When you were selling in the, I guess you could say, when you were selling, you know, 50, 60, 70 families a month, what was the most common objection you would get in the home?
So by the end, I didn't get a lot of objections because I would not show people numbers unless they were serious, right? So I'd go through the entire appointment, and the reason, and I'd get them to essentially buy, right? So I'd go, hey, Mahmoud, so if I'm hearing everything right, you want $30,000 to cover your daughter if you die because she can't pay for her funeral expenses, and like 30,000 is kind of the minimum that we're going to get set up today, right? If we get to that point and you're like, yes, that makes sense, then I would go and show them numbers. And if you were like, no, I don't think I really need this, and we're like hemming and hawing, then I wouldn't proceed past that point. And the only reason I was able to do that is not because I was good at sales, but because I invested enough in leads, and I always had leads coming in, and I would only get to that point with people that were very serious, and I wouldn't even typically book the appointment or proceed past the first part of the phone call in today's world unless they seemed serious, because I didn't want a chargeback and I didn't want to have to fight with the client. And all I was looking for was just layups, right? So I was talking to someone today about this, and they were like, oh, I dialed a bunch of old leads and I only had like 8 people pick up the phone, right? I'm like, if you asked every single producer in here who sells over 30 families a month, they'll all give you different things why they're good, but the one thing they'll have in common is they all spend over $1,000 a week in leads. Guarantee it. You can't find one that sells 30 a month that doesn't spend over $1,000 a week in leads. And she was like, yeah, no one that sold that much has said they spent less than that, right? And the only reason I was good is because I had consistent lead flow and a locked-in schedule. I wasn't that good at selling. I just was looking for the laydowns and the people that wanted insurance and was going to get them insurance no matter what.
Makes sense.
Wylie, when you have agents who are new and they're able to work from home now, right? It's not necessarily an objection, but like, how do you handle getting them to stick to a schedule now that they're able to work from home and, you know, don't have to come into an office and don't have to clock in and clock out?
Yeah, so early on, you want to set proper expectations for any new agent that you're bringing on. And so I tell them, I said, look, we're going to go through your schedule and we're going to write it out. So let's just say, for example, he wakes up at 8 or 7 o'clock, he works out, and then he's on the phone at 9. I'm like, okay, perfect. Can we work 9 to 6 every single night? He's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, okay, a couple of things I'm going to need from you. One, that's the first thing, 9 to 6 every day. The second thing is I need your camera on and you to be unmuted. So every single phone call that you're on, I can hear. So anytime that you're getting hit with an objection, I can text you, we can mute the client, and I can tell you exactly what to say. Because everything that we're going to do early on in the beginning of this first 30 days is to help you. Does that make sense? Now, if you can't do any of that, we're not going to work together. It's no hard feelings. I like you as a person. I'm rooting for you, but you're just not going to be able to work in our business and our culture. Is that okay? Yeah. Got it. Can I hold you to that standard? Yes. And so I think if you just set proper expectations and also just let people know, like, I am genuinely here to help you. I want to see you win. I want to see you make money. They understand that, and they can feel that as well. Yeah. Now, the most common objection, guys, I need to think about it. So I say we go around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Baba, how do you handle it?
All right. So we're at the numbers. You know, I need to think about it. Yeah, I completely understand. Now, in regard to think about it, like, do you just want to think about which one to go with, or like if you even need to do this in the first place? And then from there, I can kind of hear them out and pinpoint the problem. And most of the time, it's like, oh, I don't know if I should get, you know, the 10,000 or the 20,000. And I'm just like, hey, no worries, Mr. Hawkins. You know, let's get you started with the $10,000 benefit. That way, you know, God forbid something happens to you, your burial doesn't fall a burden on your family, and you have something in place. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I like that.
The way I always handled it was like, I go, all right, Mahmoud, well, when people say that, it's either because they don't like me, which you may not like me. My wife doesn't like me some days, so that could be the case. And they usually laugh because I want to like disarm them a little bit. You either don't like me or I confused you, which also could happen because I talk really fast and I have ADD. Did I confuse you? No, you didn't confuse me. Okay. Or the third thing is it's usually price, and I just made it unaffordable for you because you told me you needed this. So I must just made it outside of your budget. Is that what's going on? Cool. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we, instead of doing the middle option, why don't we look at the lower option that we knew definitely fit inside your budget, start there. And then if you want to get more coverage later, we can get more coverage later. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Cool. Like, grab me your driver's license. Let's get an application done.
Closed.
Bingo.
Cool. Sign me up.
And I like
What
how
about
you're
you?
assumptive. I actually use the exact same tactic as you because you obviously trained me. Now, what I do in the beginning, I think is really important that a lot of people don't touch on is setting a proper expectation to not receive the I need to think about it. So, for example, I'll go, Mahmoud, my job's super simple. I'm contracted with 63 different A-rated companies. So what that allows me to do is I'll be able to shop around and find you the most coverage for the lowest rate. But the one thing I'm not going to be able to guarantee is that I can actually get you accepted. So as long as we find something that obviously solves the problem at hand and fits in your budget, is there any other reason why you wouldn't submit an application today? No, right? So you set the proper expectations like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're going to be moving forward today so they know. And then when you get to the numbers, you can tell them the 15 grand is what most people go with. I just need you to go ahead and grab your driver's license real quick, right? And move them forward.
What if you get someone when you're doing the application that goes, oh man, I'm not sure if I want to share my bank account or social with you?
Yeah, so I actually just got that.
I heard it. That's why I was asking.
Yeah. So first off, I always compare the application process to applying for a car. So I'm like, this is just like applying for a car loan. I'm just gonna need some basic information. Well, the carrier will. It's gonna be name, address, phone number, social, email, state you were born in, okay? If we get a pre-approval, we're gonna lock in the rates we're looking at. And then from there, we're gonna put down whatever day you want the policy in force, the beneficiary to send the money to, and then whatever method of payment on file, right? And so you gotta set the proper expectations. Now, if you still get the banking objection, honestly, it's super simple. Like the guy's like, well, why do you need my bank account? I said, well, dude, you're not going to come over to my house and mow my lawn every single week, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, how else do you plan on paying for this? He's like, well, why can't I put a card? I'm like, well, that's a great idea. It's just an unsecured method of payment because people lose cards, they expire, right? And so imagine you have this policy 3-4 years, your card expires, and now it's lapsed. So we do this to protect you. Can you just go ahead and confirm that routing number? Boom. Yeah. And so how do you, because I know me and you do this a ton, will you go through when you're asking for the bank account information, how you make it a smooth process?
Yeah, absolutely. So to backtrack a little bit, so if I ever do get the social objection, I let the customer know, like, hey, I can send you a picture of the application. That's not a problem. I can show you better than I can tell you. And it's the same thing for the bank. It works. You know, whatever carrier you're using, if it's Mutual of Omaha, you'll see it on the top left. You'll see your name on the top right. You'll see the client's information. Hey, no worries. I can show you better than I can tell you. Just look at your phone. And they'll be able to see it right then and there. Now, in regarding the banking, the way I set it up, you know, it was after hundreds and hundreds of presentations of dealing with the objections. So I confirmed the beneficiary, and then I pretty much say, so hey, so it shows here we're tracking at the preliminary guidelines for the $5,000 benefit, $10,000 accident, you know, for a total premium of $55. Does that sound right? That's what you have on your piece of paper? Mm-hmm. Perfect. And this next part here is going to be for the effective date of the coverage. So they're going to give us two options here, Wylie. We can either have this go into effect immediately like most families. They'll draft it in the next 24, 48 hours and you'll be covered. Or if that's going to be an issue and you have to wait, you know, we can put it for Social Security bill on like the 1st or the 3rd. You know, is it immediately going to be a problem for you, Wylie?
No.
Perfect. So it'll draft in the next 24, 48 hours, and next month on the 3rd is going to be okay, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Now, this next part here for the financial institution, what is the name of the bank you handle everything with, Wylie?
Chase.
Perfect. That's who I use too. And it looks like we are partnered with them here in the system. I got the routing number pulled up. You know, it begins with 0843. Yeah. Is that what you have on your end?
Let me grab my checkbook.
Perfect. And I feel like when you set it up that way, because, you know, I don't front load it where I tell them I'm going to need your social, I'm going to need your banking. I just tell them, you know, we'll spend a quick minute on yourself, quick minute confirming basic health questions, beneficiary, select the effective date, and we'll know if you're going to be approved or not today. And I feel like it all just depends on like how you set it up, and however you set it up, as long as you say it confidently and don't be weird about it, no matter how you say it, the client's going to give you the information, you know?
I have one that I wanted to go over that I got today, and then I have a recruiting one for you, Wylie. But someone said today is they were like, I think I want to come work with you guys, but all my friends work where I work right now, and I'm super loyal to them. And I think a lot of people don't know what to do with that because it's a really hard objection to overcome. And I'm like, cool, you're married and have a kid, right? Mahmoud, yeah. All right, dude. Are you more loyal to your wife and your daughter, or are you more loyal to your friends that you work with? Because if they're really your friends, they'll still be friends with you whether you work there or not. But you are not making any money where you work now, which is why we're on the phone, because you want to do a better, put your family in a better financial situation, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So I assume that your friends, if they're really your friends, will still be your friends, and your wife and your kid will be happy that you made the switch to somewhere you actually make money, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Why don't you get started with us, and I'll show you how to actually do well.
I like that.
Because I get that one quite a bit, and it's something some of our agents are like, hey, can you help me? This guy had this question, and they've worked there for 10 years, and they're just loyal to the people they work with. And I think as long as you say it the right way. Now, if I go like, oh, like you don't give a shit about your daughter, then you're gonna be like, you man. But if you like handle it the right way, tactfully, and get the right message across and deliver it the right way, then it works really well.
Yeah, because dude, like Wylie was saying in the beginning, in our industry, most contracts are like whatever 30 to 60%, whereas here it's almost double just starting.
Or if you work a different sales job and it takes you 6 months to get deals approved and you never get paid on them, right?
Exactly. So I mean, for those people that are like that, essentially for them, I heard it the other day on a call. It was like essentially just a jersey switch.
Yeah.
You know, and I think if we can put that in people's perspective and like show them like, hey, we're actually trying to help you and better your family, I think it would go much better for a lot of people.
Or the analogy, like if people like sports, you'd be like, hey, if you played for the Raiders and the Broncos offered you to play quarterback for them, but they were going to pay you $10 million more per year, would you go play for the Broncos, or would you be like, no, I grew up a Raiders fan, so I'm going to pass up on $10 million? You'd go, to heck with the Raiders. I'm going to Denver, baby, right?
10 million, boy.
Or like if you worked at Coke and Pepsi offered you double your current salary to do the same job, would you leave?
I'm all for Pepsi
If you worked
now.
at Adidas and Nike offered you double your salary, would you go? Would you all of a sudden be wearing
100%.
Nikes? Me too, baby. Let's go. Come work with us. So,
I like that.
Wylie, what do you do when you have agents who are new and they're like, I feel like I'm not as profitable as I should be right now?
Yeah, I think honestly, I'd say it's three very simple things, right? So the first thing is how many leads are they buying, right? The second thing is how many presentations are they doing? And then after that, it's how many closes are you getting from that presentation? So say they spend $1,000 a week, they get 200 leads. Out of the 200 leads, they're only presenting to, let's say they say 18 to 20 people. I'm like, perfect. Okay, so here's our problem. This is where you can focus on the problems because it's only going to come from those three categories, right? So how many times are you dialing a day? I make around 200 dials. All right, got it. Here's your problem, right? You're not getting enough presentations to allow your profit to go through the roof. So all we need to do is make sure you call these people 3 times, right? And our goal is to do 400 to 500 dials, okay? Because your goal is to get 40 presentations every single week, because in-home it was 30, on the phones it's between 40 to 50 in my opinion. If you can do that, you should be writing 10 families a week. Yeah.
Perfect. Do you have any other ones you want to go over?
Yeah, let's do one last one. So it's the, $9.99 objection. Well, I saw this ad on TV for $9.99.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. So a lot of people actually call into our office. You're talking about colonial, whatever. The one you
Colonial
see.
men.
Yeah, you see it $9.99 on the TV. I'd be like, unfortunately, a lot of people call into our office and saying they should be sued for false advertising. I'm like, what you mean? Be like, yeah, you can go sign up for that $9.99, but when you get that policy in the mail, you'll see it's not even $1,000 worth of coverage, and you're on a 2-year waiting period. And they're always like, what? They didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here, let me help you out. And then, it makes my job so much easier. And I straight up tell the client that. I'm like, hey, you just made my job easier.
Yeah, and I think the clients know that it's not the truth because they $9.99 for $100K coverage at 64 or 72, right?
They're dreaming.
Right, and they understand that. And the last thing to touch on, I think, is all these objections and how to handle them are great, but at the end of the day, it's not all going to work, right? Like it all boils down to having a good set of leads every single week, staying consistent, hitting the phones, reaching out to your mentors and uplines, and staying the course because not everything works 100% of the time.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's wrap with that. Thank you guys. Appreciate y'all for watching.